So good morning. So I think in the last video that I uploaded, I had mentioned that I was going to do a future video on food. And so what has happened for the vast majority of my life, I never really followed any strict diet or anything. I was pretty much an intuitive eater. I ate what I felt my body was telling me to eat, within reason. And every once in a while, a sort of binge. And I never had a weight problem until after menopause, which is very typical. So what happened about 8-9 months ago, though, was that I developed some food allergies, and it really kind of pissed me off, because I'm the kind of person, I don't like to be told what's right and good, and somewhat counter intuitive. And so I went through a little bit of a struggle, trying to find my happy place, and still attempt to heal and nurture what my body was needing. So in September, I started kind of dancing and playing with intermittent fasting, and I liked the idea. I was doing a very challenging kind of schedule where it wasn't a standard schedule. It was kind of a floating schedule, and there was a lot of difficulty in really finding a comfortable zone to where I could successfully fast and not feel pressured or deprived because of social things that would come up that would interrupt a fast, or vice versa. So I kind of gave it up for a couple of months, and I would go easily. I can do a 12 to 14 hour, because that includes sleep time if you time it right. And I started doing some research, listening to different people about their experiences, their protocols, what they do. Some are really extreme. And although personality-wise, I can tend to go full out into things, I understood intuitively that I needed to really make this a life change and not so much a temporary protocol to just support weight loss. I wanted to eliminate sugar and, just get the inflammation down, lose some weight, lose some inches, and just, try and nurture my body back into health. And I was curious to see if any of the allergies that I had developed would then kind of wane or fade away, or maybe, hopefully, even disappear. That hasn't quite happened, although I will say that I am far more tolerant to dairy. And the interesting thing is, though, I don't really have an interest in it anymore, except for maybe cheese occasionally. So, but I still take digestive enzymes. The wheat, I'm not interested in really engaging with. And, way back when, within the last couple of years, I jokingly said that we may have to all consider becoming brethrens, and somewhat learning how to sustain away from our dependency on food source because of the quality of food that is being imposed on us now. And even the organics, there's just no way that organics are not being impacted because of cross-pollination and so forth and so on, unless the organics are being grown in a climate-controlled dome type of situation. And then who the heck can afford it? So it became a real very conscious situation for me. And there's never any, mistakes, or everything has its purpose. And I think that the catalyst was the development of these allergies that just kind of floored me. And I developed eczema, severe eczema, actually. And I still bout with it, along my neck, in the back, and so forth. But interestingly enough, it is slowly responding to this new self-developed protocol. And I did have to play with it. There's extreme protocols out there that are really working for other people, but I had some considerations that I had to take in. And one was the fact that I don't have a gallbladder. And yes, there are people that are successful with the infamous keto diet, even though they don't have a gallbladder. And you can probably be pretty successful on it with supplementation and just being very conscious about how fast you're taking in your fat amounts that fuel your body. So the whole science behind, fat is fuel, protein is not the main source of fuel for our body, nor is, of course, carbs. So I'm on board with all of that, but I still really struggled with the exorbitant amounts of fat that keto was requiring me to follow. So, of course, me, who never stays within the box of protocols, and I kind of, I'm a free flyer when it comes to things. My readings, nothing I do is standard. And I think that's, for those who are my clientele, that's somewhat of what attracts them, or I attract them to me, is the kind of different view and approach to things. But anyway, so I believe it's been about 4 weeks. It may be, I think I'm going into my 4th week. It may be 3.5 weeks. It's pretty darn close to 4. And initially, within the first 10 days, I dropped 7 pounds, and I was like, holy wow, where is this taking me? Because I do need to lose weight, but I by no means am obese and need to lose a lot of pounds. Considerable poundage for me. I've never been an overweight person until I went through, the onset of menopause and all of that. And then it kind of hit me and I was like, what is all this? So it's been a journey, and I know there are many, many women that can identify with this. Just all the changes that happen as you enter into your crondom, which is an amazing and magnificent phase and stage and state in life. But there's also some potential trauma that can occur because we go along feeling pretty confident and not having, certain challenges. And then all of a sudden we have some major challenges in areas that we never had before. So it's been a journey for me, and it continues. I feel that I have kind of reached the mother lode of knowledge for myself on this when the allergies came in and I tapped into intermittent fasting. And then I began to educate myself on what happens during fasting and, at the 12-hour, the 14-hour, the 16-hour, and so forth. So that's been really empowering for me, and I encourage, I'm not here to educate you on those specifics, but I do very deeply from my heart encourage everyone to really look into that. And it's not as difficult and scary as it seems. And there's nothing wrong with challenging yourself with, a 10-hour, a 12-hour, and slowly ebbing and inching your way, to increase the time of fasting, or the amount of time of fasting that you do. There's no wrong. And we have to be kind and gentle with ourselves. So here I am. I was following some pretty extreme protocols, just educating myself and seeing what they were saying about it, knowing that I would probably not very quickly reach what they were speaking of. And to be perfectly honest, they were really speaking to very overweight, obese population. And it didn't really resonate for me, in that it was just a little too harsh for me. I didn't want to set myself up to fail. So I danced and played with this, and I was really comfortable, heading into 16. I wasn't totally comfortable at 16 because I felt like it gave me too big of a window of what they call feeding or refeeding window. And I just didn't want to, because I have a propensity to, I'm a foodie. So I really love, it's like open up the gate and, I'm going to start grazing. And not that it's totally unhealthy grazing. It's not like I, sit down and eat a bag of chips or, anything like that. But it's really made me very conscious about, how much calorie I'm taking in, portion, the protein, the fats, and the carbs. I'm a carbie. I feel good on carbs, but they just don't really do as much for me as I wish they did, in a positive way. And unfortunately, the keto thing, like I said, no gallbladder, and I had I've attempted keto like 3 different times, and at the 2-week mark, I would crash out in no matter, even if I was supporting my liver with supplements, I just couldn't regain, and it was really causing havoc in my gastrointestinal system. So I started educating myself a little bit more. Okay, smaller amounts, spread it out. I got that, but it just doesn't. Like I said in the beginning, I've always been more of an intuitive eater, and it just doesn't completely resonate. I understand the philosophy and it makes sense, but for me, intuitively, it was like, there's something that I need to do for myself, and perhaps it's because of who I am, and I need a certain amount of energy to burn, to ground me, and I feel like protein and carbs are very grounding, that, you know, that was the programming, you know, the long-term programming. We all have it, you know. We all grew up with the pyramid, and, you know, what's healthy, and you should eat, you know, 6 mini meals and all of that. And man, it's just been such an amazing journey to understand that if we can get past our brain and our minds, and the ego constantly suggesting that we're going to die if we don't eat soon, it just really opens it up. And in the first couple of weeks, it was so astounding to me how I felt. And this is with very minimal or limited physical exercise kind of regimen. I do have a rowing machine, and I try and get on that at least 5 times a week. But that kind of ebbs and flows. And, you know, I try and incorporate other things. Like this morning, I shoveled. And I will do rowing later on. But I've been very gentle with myself as far as that goes too. I'll incorporate it with, you know, practicality of, you know, if I'm in the kitchen and I'm standing at the counter doing something, I may be, you know, in, you know, a semi-squat, or, you know, doing some kind of something. If I'm coming up the basement stairs, I try and do 2 at a time. You know, that kind of thing has really helped me. And eventually I'm going to get into a really strong routine. Wintertime is a little tough. You know, there's not a whole lot of incentive to be out doing activity. But I have full intention. I do stretching. I do some yoga. I try and keep myself and my joints and ligaments nurtured. Some days are better than others, and that's the honesty of it. But what I wanted to share with you is the forgiveness pledge. And the forgiveness pledge is all about, I realized that when I had been doing successfully, you know, 19, 20 hour fast and coming off of it and feeling amazing. And then I would have like a day where I was like 16. I was like, I really need to break this fast. Like this morning, I needed a cup of coffee. And my fasting involves nothing except for water. And if you're going on a fast more than 24 hours, then you have to bring in the electrolytes. I tried to do that on the shorter fast, and it really kind of messed me up. I had too much sodium, too much Himalayan salt going on in my body, and I was very headachy and just didn't feel good. So I do that in moderation. And like I said, I am intuitive based. So I really listen to my body. If I wake up and I'm super parched and I feel like I need a dose of electrolytes or minerals, then I'll give it to myself. I do make my own kombucha. So I do that. I don't do it every day either, but I do probiotics and I do supplementation for the liver. But I've really kind of tried to keep it as simple as possible. It's allowed me to cut back on my thyroid medication successfully. So that's a good indication. I'm hoping that that will get better and improve as I go along. Just like the joint inflammation, I can now do my stairs normally instead of kind of a sideways gait, looking for stabilization by the railing. And not that I could go down at a good pace, but it was just my joints were stiff and slower to respond. And now, even first thing in the morning, I'm able to really kind of go down the stairs with no problem. Yeah, so the forgiveness pledge is all about just that. If you have a day where you find that you're needing to break, and it's, you know, like today for me, it was 16 instead of, I was really shooting for 18. This past weekend was the first weekend that I tried really hard to break break protocol, I should say, and come off fast and kind of eat with the family and quote unquote be normal. And I struggled with it. I didn't like it. It didn't feel good. I also don't like eating late anymore. It's a real struggle for me. So Saturday was a little bit of a challenge for me. So yesterday I tried to get myself back into a decent schedule, because I like to break fast anywhere between noon and 2 o'clock, and then allow myself, I don't like to allow myself more than 4 or 5 hours of refeed, because I haven't completely broken or reprogrammed the old programming of you need to eat, and the panic of, okay, you have 4 hours, cram. And I am finding that actually, if I eat an extended meal and break it down, and I do that because of the lack of gallbladder and the amount of fat that I might be taking, healthy fat for the most part, then I haven't had any issues whatsoever. So if I come off a fast for, let's say 2 o'clock, and I'm allowing myself a 4-hour window, I'll usually drink my version of a bulletproof coffee, which does not have nearly the amount of fat in it. I do fully believe in the MCT coconut oil. It has some really amazing benefits to it. I started out with a low dose of it in my coffee, and I was using a heavy coconut cream instead of the almond creamer because of the sugar factor. I have now gone back to the almond creamer because I'm allowing myself that sugar, which may be a slide back. It may be viewed as that, but it gives me the satisfaction when I'm coming off of a fast that then I can go a number of hours without eating. And to me, that feels good. So for instance, I broke fast at 16 hours this morning, had my keto coffee, and I won't eat now till probably 1 o'clock as my first meal. And I'll extend that. I'll start eating slowly with something basic and small. It may be vegetables. I tend to be more vegetarian than not, although I don't hesitate to eat meat if I am intuitively called to do that. I don't have aversion to it. But I am most comfortable being primarily vegetarian. So I may eat some broccoli or a salad. I may even make a chef salad, which, you know, that contains a good amount of fat and carb, actually. But if that's going to be my main meal for the day, and then the rest of the day is weaning off of that and heading into my cutoff, which today will be anywhere between 5 and 6, then it just feels good. So the pledge is all about coming into an understanding of what is wonderful and perfect for you. I'm not having huge amount of, the scale's not really moving a whole lot in the last, I've noticed, I don't know, week, maybe 10 days. But the inches, I noticed the clothes were feeling different, but the scale wasn't moving. So I decided to do another measurement check, and it was like 12 days since the last. And I've lost a total of 4.75 inches total. And so in 12 days, I lost almost 5 inches total. I don't know if that's huge. I don't know what's impressive, but it's impressive for me because I'm feeling it. And that's all that matters. I'm not here to impress people with my amazing weight loss or whatever story. I'm just sharing the journey. And hopefully it will empower others to attempt it. I would say probably 90% of people, maybe more, of people that I mention, this journey to and what I'm experiencing and what I'm going through, they quite frankly, the first thing that they say is, I can't do that. I have to eat. And it's so funny because that's exactly what we've been programmed to believe, that we have to eat constantly to fuel our bodies, when in fact we don't. The first 12 to 14, 15 hours is really a healing phase. So if you have inflammation or other systemic things going on, that's when the healing happens. And then after that is where you jump into the weight loss, fat burning phase. So if you're a person who really doesn't have to lose weight, but you're having some health issues or challenges, then I really full-heartedly suggest trying, the 12 to 14. And it's easier than you think when you consider that you stop eating after your dinner and take it through to the next day. So a good percentage of the fast time, hopefully you're sleeping. It really is a very effective, gentle, and sensible way of doing it. And during that, if you're in the first 12 to 14 hours and you're sleeping, you are completely allowing your body to not concentrate so much on a huge, big late night meal or snacking or whatever you've done before going to bed. And you're allowing your body to really heal itself. So it's pretty amazing. So I encourage everyone to kind of dance and play with it. Find what works for you and be gentle, be graceful, and take the pledge to be that way for yourself so that you can walk into a healthier, really self-sustaining life protocol for yourself. I have full intentions of really diving pretty deep into this, but I'm taking it slow. I have a lot of challenges within that programming, as we all do, and I'm not willing to backslide at this point. This is the longest I have ever been successful at really reprogramming and reviewing the importance or non-importance of food in my life. I still love food. Don't get me wrong. I still love it. But it's really serving more of a purpose now. As far as calories go, and then I'm going to let you go because I've been rambling on for nearly a half hour about this. As far as calories go, yeah, I've got a program and it's set up for weight loss, and it's a guided thing. And that kind of keeps me honest. And that's the only purpose for me, is to keep me honest and conscious. Because I do have a propensity to be an indulger. So it keeps me honest, and as a result, there is a caloric suggestion. For me, it's just over 1,000 calories, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but guess what? I haven't reached that caloric level yet. I think yesterday I ate 600 calories. And today I'll probably eat about that, or maybe even less. I'm not starving myself though, because what's happening is my body ends up feeding off the already existing fat. And P.S., it does not deplete your muscle. It doesn't take away from the muscle. So, yeah, so it's a pretty cool science. Do your research for yourself. Don't take my word for it, and you don't even have to follow what I'm not even suggesting that you follow me. I'm just suggesting and trying to empower for people to be healthier and more in control, and less of a unconscious state when it comes to what they feel they need from food to be healthy and happy. So with that, I think I covered pretty much everything. There may be more. I'll have updates on this more than likely. I did have some people notice a change. I don't know how this video is coming out. I have no makeup on, and I would never do this before, but my skin has taken an amazing change for the better, and people are actually noticing that I look like I've lost weight. And like I said, I initially did, and I know more will come off at some point, slowly. I think it's more about what's happening. The inches are going, the inch loss is going up because the fat is being burned. And so I like that. I like that a lot. And so there you have it. Let me know what you think, what your insights are. Any questions? I am by no means an expert on this at all. I'm only becoming the expert for myself and my journey. And I think there's a need for that sharing, and hopefully it will encourage others.